I love how you tied the importance of customer support into the overall customer experience and retention. Not only in every B2B business, I think Forrester came out with a report that current existing customers account for 72% of all new annual revenue every year. So customer retention and expansion is a huge opportunity for us in any organization. And it's all tied to customer support, right? So, you know, the word customer support, and you linked it to experience. There was another, and we talk a lot about this on the podcast, but I really want to get your point of view on this, is that customer experience is now the number one differentiator for businesses today. And that's not just us in our opinion, which is really important, right? But that's like a McKinsey study that, looked at very highly profitable companies, both B2C, B2B companies, and came out with that conclusion. So what we're going to talk about here today is super important. And the last thing that when you made that transition, what I loved is in customer support, we're still looked upon in a lot of ways as a support department, right? And yet we're so tied to growth and revenue, and we're the front line with the customers. The customer is the highest voice of authority in any business. The fact that we're looked upon as a support function or a cost center, right? I'd love to get your thoughts on that and kind of how we dispel that today as well.
Absolutely.
But here's the number one thing. You are very passionate about customer support, customer experience, helping to solve the dysfunction within organizations. I just love to hear your point of view on that dysfunction and then how we can play a role in that.
I think every organization that I've worked for, and now also talking to my peers and different leaders in different organizations, I think people don't understand the importance of getting things done right, in the sense that dysfunction is almost like a very slow erosion. Dysfunction is impaired or abnormal functioning, right? Organizational dysfunction is almost a systemic breakdown of functioning of an organization. Now, dysfunction is not just about some isolated problems. It's basically about a system that slowly stops functioning and a decay sets in. And it's almost like a whisper. It's so quiet that it does not surface until it has actually compromised an organization's ability to scale, serve, or innovate. Well, if you look at dysfunction, it shows up in basically the erosion of clarity, effectiveness, productivity, performance, growth, and execution. And people don't see it very well because we always have different reasons of why things are not working. So keeping the market and macro conditions aside, there is lots at risk within the execution of our functions who are set up to do a certain job. And then you suddenly realize that they're not optimally functioning, but we probably just get into this chronic reactivity and solving problems that shouldn't have been in the first place. So now what happens is when dysfunction sets in, it's quiet, it's generally quiet, and you figure it out very later in the stages. Silos form. Over time, mediocrity becomes normalized. Underperformance becomes the norm. Leaders chase symptoms and make short-sighted decisions over fixing the root causes. Teams tiptoe around hard truths for the sake of cordiality, right? So it's dangerous. It's dangerous because it slowly eats away as decay does. If you don't challenge it, then it becomes culture of the organization. Culture entropy is the root cause of the organization dysfunction. And very soon you'll find organizational dysfunction is running on an autopilot. I don't even have to dwell on it, honestly, Steve, because if you think about Patrick Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of a team, it says it all. And if you look at any organization which is struggling today, the core things are those 5 things that Patrick talks about: absence of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment, lack of accountability, inattention to details. And ultimately, you end up with this whole web of band-aids, short-sighted decisions, and really it takes away the ability of an organization, which could be all awesome. And you don't then end up at the end of a quarter or end of a year doing financial engineering and letting go of people. If leaders could just have the right visibility into what's ailing the business and solving for those bigger problems, the systemic problems. So I'm pretty passionate about this subject because I feel like as leaders, we have the power to do things right and take out this dysfunction. If only we could have that, constructive confrontation and assessment of these things that are ailing the business, the dysfunction.